Let's appreciate Dr. Wale.
Because of time, we need to give our former Vice President sufficient time. He's here with his team. I won't take a lot of time. He's not somebody you want to introduce. He's a Kenyan household name. His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is here with us. He will share with us quite a number of issues from different perspectives. Your Excellency, here we have many Kenyans, but also we have our colleagues from the Eastern Africa region. We have colleagues from the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, and Burundi, and others are online internationally. So we welcome you to speak to us, share your experiences, and I'm sure we will be able to benefit a lot from your coming. Of course, we have had quite an eventful week with various speakers, various panelists on various topics, and today we have you. So I would want members of the Institute and delegates to give a round of applause for His Excellency for arriving. You know, inviting somebody who arrives is very important. So,
thank you. Yeah, I actually arrived. A very good morning to all of you. Please be seated. And listening to Dr. Wale, I think I saw him before he suffered the heart attack that he talked about. It's so good, Wale, if you're still in the house. We thank God for you and your life. And thank you for being such a transformational speaker. He also runs a street university. Can you imagine? A street university, which is an online institution. Before I make my remarks, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to recognize that I'm accompanied by 3 senators. Thank you so much, one of whom is the Secretary General of my party, or our party, Senator Shakila Abdallah, all the way from Lamu. And then we have some senators. Then we have Senator Agnes Kavindu, Senator for Machakos. And then we have Senator Enoch Wambua. He is also the Deputy Minority Leader in the Senate. Then we have a number of MCRs from all over the place. If you could also stand, Irene Mulu, and got a number of them. Now, I want to make my remarks, but I must also tell you to tighten your belt because I'm here to intentionally provoke you as professionals, because it's a call to action if indeed we want to save our nation. And so I'll read these remarks and perhaps juxtapose them occasionally with other remarks. Mr. Chairman, or is it Mr. President Kakai? Philip Kakai, Madam Chief Executive Officer, CPA, Dr. Grace Kamau, incoming incoming Chairman, Professor Elizabeth Kalunda. I love that name. Reminds me of where I come from. Distinguished council members and delegates gathered today, whether here or at the Sarova White Sands, here in Sarova, or Pride in Mombasa, or those of you joining us virtually. It is a great honor to address the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of this 42nd annual seminar. And ladies and gentlemen, ISPAC has a long and very rich history. The Institute, founded as a regulatory organization by an Act of Parliament in 1978, is responsible for regulating and coordinating the operations of Kenya's certified and registered public accountants. You not only advise the Examination Board on examinations and standards, you also advise the Minister for Finance on matters relating to financial accountability in all sectors of the economy by setting and enforcing standards of professional practice such as accounting, auditing, and ethical standards. And how you have grown, and the region has also grown, to hear that we have also representatives, a lot of whom are also online, from Burundi, from Rwanda. In fact, your council member tells me even Somalia, the newest member of the East African community, from Tanzania and wherever. I don't know whether there are others from the Republic of South Sudan, the world's newest country. As such, and governed by law, you are one of the most important pillars upon which our country's dreams should be built. Over the last 5 days, outstanding Kenyans and foreigners have addressed delegates on a wide range of topics. You have thought things out, asked questions, and shared your professional experiences. All of this has resulted in today's key theme, self-management, and listening to Dr. Wale, self-regulation. A legendary Chinese philosopher, Lao Tzu, remarked in one of his well-known works that, I quote, "Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power." End of quote. This was penned centuries ago, I think really connect with me today. With absolute confidence, having observed the evolution of our republic from a unique viewpoint, as a lawyer, as a mediator in our conflicts in the region, as a lawmaker, yes, even one time as deputy speaker for a whole 5 years, as assistant minister, as minister in about 5 to 6 ministries, party leader, the 10th vice president of our country, and I'm told my friend Raila was here and he protested. I should not call him former, because once a prime minister, always a prime minister. And yes, I can live with being former, but really the 10th edition of vice presidents in our country. It is no secret that something is indeed rotten in the state of Kenya today. And to be able to paraphrase William Shakespeare's Hamlet, whichever way you look at it, and I want to actually add that not only rotten, but you as professionals are called upon to make the difference. In that serious tragedy of Hamlet, the writer, again reflecting, said, "Time is out of joint, oh cursed spite. And I was born to set it right." I'm calling on you as professionals to recognize that time is out of joint, and you are called upon to do something about it. The state of the economy, whichever you look at it, from the state of the economy to misplaced and misguided policies in education, health, and agricultural sectors, our nation is failing. The current regime prioritizes its own interests with nepotism and tribalism, willful corruption, and abuse of state offices taking precedence over professionalism. They've even reinvented goonism, political goonism in our country. This morning's address, the role of professionals in national growth and transformation, is thus particularly timely as we reflect on the state of our nation. In my opinion, the accounting profession should be front and center as the foundation of accountability and transparency in a healthy democracy. Therefore, allow me to focus on 4 critical pillars that I believe members of ISPAC should be guided by in our determined quest to transform our beloved republic into a nation admired and respected regionally and internationally. Pillar number 1, on ethical leadership in professional practice. ISPAC has grown in the last 41 years to be a respected body of some 40,000 certified members who work in diverse sectors of the economy as accountants, as financial experts. Some of them were lent by ODM to William Ruto, auditors, and financial consultants practicing in Kenya and beyond our borders in 44 countries around the globe. Ethics is not some philosophical notion for abstract debate. It is the very essence of professional practice. When you sign off on financial statements, you are not just confirming numbers, you are risking your professional name. You confirm success or failure and define integrity and dishonesty. Ethical leadership is thus an imperative if we are determined to change the destiny of our republic. I therefore call on each one of you today to hold yourselves to a higher level of professional ethics. Your role goes beyond merely technically competent. It involves being a moral compass, bending towards ethical justice. When you witness something in error, do not be afraid to speak out. If you are put on the spot and asked to betray your values, please hold firm. Always remember, your signature is not just a sign, it is a guarantee. Like lawyers say, my word is my bond. Your signature is your guarantee. Not to your customers, but to your country. Pillar number 2, ladies and gentlemen, institutional integrity and nation building. I, like many other Kenyans, am concerned that the procurement systems which are meant to ensure fairness and value for money are being misused for personal gain. Kenya's budget processes that should align resources with national priorities have been turned into tools for political favoritism. At the heart of each of these failures is a professional who chose convenience over excellence, compliance over conscience. As a Nobel laureate, very own African leader, Wole Soyinka astutely puts it, and I quote, "The greatest threat to freedom is the absence of criticism." End of quote. It is time your profession regains its critical voice. I encourage you to break free from mere compliance, box checking, and step forward as champions of real institutional change. When systems break down, take the initiative to redesign them. When processes are misused, take action to fix them. Remember, you're not just cogs in the institutional machine, you are the architects and the protectors of it. Ladies and gentlemen, August 27, 2010 will always remain one of the most important days for me, and I believe for our country, and also for you, as well as all Kenyans. As previously stated, I have the honor of seeing firsthand some of the most significant events leading up to our country's rebirth. When our third president, President Mwai Kibaki, whom I had the honor to serve as his vice president, promulgated the new Constitutional Republic of Kenya to Uhuru Park, Nairobi, I also took an oath of office as our country's 10th vice president. I swore to be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Kenya and to obey, to preserve, protect and defend our Constitution as by law established, and all other laws of the Republic, and that I would protect and uphold the sovereignty, the integrity and dignity of the people of Kenya. I therefore have an obligation, if not a duty, to speak out against the current regime's blatant, indeed criminal attempts to state capture independent constitutional offices such as the Auditor General and the Controller of Budget, as well as intimidate the current office bearers, Nancy Gavungu and Margaret Nyakango in particular. There was written in Proverbs 11, I quote 11:3, when the foundations are being destroyed, what can the righteous do? This has come to mind. I know we are from various faiths, but I think God is universal. The foundations, according to me, are getting destroyed. The righteous act of these two high professionals, Nancy Gavungu and Dr. Nyakango, in exposing wanton rot perpetuated by the current leadership should be celebrated. Despite threats and outright intimidation, they have stood strong and firm. Their moral conscience stays unwavering. They are, in my opinion, genuine shujas. Mashujaa wetu hao. I urge ISPAC leadership to stand with and support these two heroines who are members of your profession and give your voices to publicly condemn a dictatorship that has lost its moral authority, if ever it had one in the very first place. Pillar number 3, civic awakening and youth engagement. There is a civic awakening that is sweeping through our nation, and indeed actually through the continent, especially among the youth. The events of June 25th last year, what I call J25, marked a turning point in our national consciousness. When young Kenyans took to the streets across Kenya in droves, they were not just protesting against the punitive finance bill 2024, armed with a bottle of water, our national flag and their mobile phones. They were reclaiming their role in shaping the future of their nation. I find myself even thinking about what this means for Kenya's business community. These young adults, some of whom are your own students or indeed your own children, are calling us to answer a basic question. What shall we bequeath to the next generation as professionals? As professionals, you do hold a special place in society. You have specialized knowledge that comes with both power and responsibility. How you choose to use this knowledge will determine whether you are seen as defenders of the status quo or defenders of change. Young people in Kenya are paying attention. They are wondering how professionals who understand the complexity of public finance can remain silent when public money is being stolen. They are wondering why experts who see unsustainable policies speak out only when a crisis has developed. I'm a firm believer in mentorship. It is important to guide young professionals, not just in the technical aspects of their job, but also in the domain of ethical leadership. Let us create forums for deep discussions between generations in our organizations. A nation that cannot mobilize the talent and idealism of its youth is one that risks falling behind. I encourage you today to step beyond professional comfort levels. Meet with policymakers, not as technical experts, but as defenders of economic justice. Use your analytical talent to bring into sharp focus the true costs of corruption and bad governance. Use your data analytics to provide us with an honest opinion on where existing policies are taking us. As our own Professor Kalista Juma correctly asserted, I quote, "It is not the size of resources that dictates Africa's development, but how efficiently those resources are utilized," end of quote. As professionals in accounting, you are guardians of that efficiency. Now my next thing is beyond compliance to conscience. As we near the end of the time we'll be sharing together, I challenge you to go beyond compliance to the next level, of conscience. Conscious Kenyans. Utu. Compliance asks, is it legal? Where conscience asks, is it right? I also challenge you to take on 4 specific commitments. Commitment number 1, commit to being an ethical leader in your circle of influence. Where corruption exists, do not remain silent. Where power is being abused, do not stay quiet. Second commitment, take the pledge to seek change in institutions. Use your knowledge to construct structures and put in defense mechanisms to protect against exploitation. Do not stay as implementers in institutions, be transformers instead. Friends and fellow professionals, I have a question for you. Are you sure that Kenyans received nominations for purposes of reconstituting the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, who are representatives of your profession? I ask this question pointedly. I received some of 2 of your council members when I sat as a co-chair of the NATCO process at Bomas. Your voice was loud and clear. Are you taken seriously? As ISPAC, as accountants, people who have knowledge about numbers, the analytics. And in my view, the next elections will have to depend on accountants to give us correct numbers. Not other professions like lawyers like me, right? But accountants have a specific role if you are going to throw out the ghost, the ghost of election stealing and that kind of thing. You had that wonderful opportunity. I have another question for you. Why is it that none of the nominees handpicked by President William Ruto are professional members of ISPAC? Why is it? Why were the recommendations of your member, Mr. Andrew Tanui, who was one of the 9 members of the IEBC selection panel, ignored? I believe that if your position, which I represent truly, and the broad-based government consisting of UDA and ODM had held consultations and concurred in accordance with the National Dialogue Committee report recommendations, a nominee such as your chairman Kakai, who was on the short list of 9 recommended members of the constituted IBC, could have been included. And he's sitting here, ignored. I believe by ignoring your chairman, your president, you're being told, Mutadu. I urge you, as a professional body, to step up and join the rising number of people who have expressed no confidence with the Ruto nominations, as well as to request a full and unfurnished accounting of the vetting process by the IEBC selection panel. Kenyans expect nothing less. Third, ladies and gentlemen, let us take a pledge to mentor the next generation. Share your knowledge and experience with the next generation of professionals and leaders. Help create paths for young professionals to develop. Recall, true legacy is not individual success, it is forward thinking and allowing the effortless passage of information. Fourth, give back to your community. Your professional acumen gives you a keen vision of the challenges facing our nation. Employ that vision in public conversation. These commitments will not always be easy to keep. There even be personal or professional repercussions for standing up for what is right and what is just. But let us remember the powerful words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I quote, "The ultimate measure of a woman, a man or woman, is not where he or she stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands or she stands at times of challenge and adversity. End of quote. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I've taken the time to discuss what I truly believe is the role that professionals can play in reforming society. However, I'll be doing the profession an injustice if I did not address an urgent issue that, if handled, will aid in the realization of his vision and goals. When I accepted the invitation to address this distinguished gathering of more than 4,000 professionals, Dr. Kamau shared the 5-day program with me. There were a number of senior members of the executive that were scheduled to speak with you. However, this did not materialize. They did not show up. They failed to honor their invitations and send junior staff in their stead. I know that junior staff sometimes do an excellent job. But look at this decor, the seriousness of this forum. If Prime Minister Raila Odinga made it here, and he proclaimed he's still not in government, I doubt that, others should have taken leadership, showed leadership. They failed to honor the invitations for persons or reasons they believe were valid. I believe this is the latest example of the growing list of Kenya Kwanza kleptocracy, lack of integrity, and indeed ineptitude. It is a reflection of their callous disregard for professionalism. So professionals in our country, please stand up and be counted. Did you know that the last general election had a very interesting statistic? About 8 million Kenyans did not show up to vote. I believe a lot of them, those who are professionals, who found it difficult to go out and queue in a primary school from 6 o'clock in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. And they sat in the comfort of their homes. You unfortunately do not vote by proxy. You got to go there and do it. I think we have to think as professionals. There are countries where voting is compulsory. I think in India, for example, voting is compulsory. It's the world's largest democracy. Think about this. Because of that, every Kenyan with a payslip is feeling the weight of that inaction. Going forward, I think every Kenyan payslip holder will be the first ones, in my view, to get out by 4 o'clock in the morning and then queue. They should have used this forum for public discussion. I'm talking about those friends still who did not show up. And therefore this cannot be, and it cannot properly be seen as a forum for the opposition. So government side, don't be scared of your own people. Come and explain to them. They should have used this forum for public discussion and involvement, carefully listening to your perspectives on the state of the nation and how to remove Kenya off the grey list. They should have sought your expert advice on how to reinforce this 41-year-old body in light of emerging trends and concerns, such as the use of technology, data analytics, and artificial intelligence, as well as dealing with money laundering and wish-washing. They should have discussed accountant empowerment. They squandered an incredible opportunity to work with you, line by line, on the Finance Bill 2025-2026, ensuring their punitive and costly errors of 2023, 2024, and 2024-2025 will not be repeated. And more importantly, that no more Kenyan lives will be lost or endangered because of exercising their constitutional rights to peaceably protest and picket. Disregarding the views of Kenyans, be it professional or students salaried workers or mama mbogas or border riders, ladies and gentlemen, is Kenya Kwanza's modus operandi. I can with absolute authority assure you, assembled here at the Pride Inn or online, that the next administration will not, and I repeat, will not treat professional associations, professionals, and indeed all Kenyans in this shocking disregard. I have no doubt that the next administration will be led by a member of a professional institution, the first in our history, a person of the highest integrity, a Kenyan whose commitment to the rule of law is unwavering and whose resume is a clear roadmap of their dedicated and steadfast service in the public interest. Do you suspect I'm talking about myself? I leave that on to you. As I end my address, I would like you to ask yourself and the man or woman sitting next to you or beside you, whether you have the will to make a difference. When generations look ahead and reflect on this moment of choice in our history, let them remember that when Kenya was at a crossroads, its professionals opted for change over the path of least resistance. Let them understand that accountants are not just number crunchers. They were the guardians of public faith. Let them understand that this generation of professionals did not just construct careers. They helped reshape a failing nation into a transformed, ethically guided economic powerhouse that is internationally respected and admired, as well as benchmarked against and indeed worthy of the new cliche, and I end quote, there is the African continent, and then there is Kenya. Have you heard that lately? I agree, Dr. Wale, you cannot benchmark mediocrity. The world is benchmarking Kenyans. I repeat, there is the African continent, and then there is Kenya. God bless you, and God bless our Republic, Kenya. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the 10th Vice President of Kenya. Let's give him a round of applause. Everywhere, online, now we have come to a stage where we need to interrogate his speech. And I would want us to get a few questions because of time. So we'll get 2 from each venue, and then he will be able to respond to all of them. You agree that he's a professional and a member of the Law Society of Kenya, but is defending the institute, interestingly. So thank you very much. We can start with Pride In 2. Pride In 2. Pride In 2.
Thank you, Chairman. Pride In 2. How many questions will you allow us?
At least 2.
At least, so we can do 5. Sorry. Thank you. So the first question will be from FCPA Georgina. Do we have any other?
Consider balancing.
Where are the microphones? Okay, so FCPA Georgina, kindly go ahead. We have 2 questions. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, the former Vice President of Kenya, Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. We have seen a lot of companies that have closed shop. Some have shifted their businesses to the neighboring countries. SMEs are closing down, sinking down with debt. And all this has culminated into what is beyond employment and now gone to negative social practices. What would be the realistic ways that professionals can come into the space and be able to restore what has been lost, and specifically to be able to create avenues for job creation and meaningful job creation, not just job creation, restore investor confidence, and above all, spur economic growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, FCPA Georgina. We have another question from Pride in 2. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richard Pasito, CPA. My question to His Excellency, Kalonzo Musyoka, the chairman of Wiper Party, on the issue of Finance Bill 2025. Because we had 2024, which brought a lot of uproar, and then we had a lot of issues, being abducted, running on the streets. Now we have another 2025. Maybe in the opposition, in the Kenya opposition, if you are involved and you are able to interrogate to see that issues which raise a lot of uproar in Kenya in 2024 are not replicated, so that we may not have the same issues as we had last year. So I think it's important we interrogate. If you're able to interrogate yourself, especially because you have representation in the both houses, National Assembly and the Senate, if they are able to interrogate the issues being raised in the items in the 2025 finance bill, so that they may not be replicated in the one in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CPA. Though you didn't introduce yourself.
Richard Pasito, CPA from AJAABU County.
Thank you very much. Chair, those are the questions from Pride in 2. I give it back to you.
Thank you very much, CPA Respa. Pride in 1. CPA
yes, Chair, thank you. Pride in 1, we are ready. We have 2 questions. I will start with the lady. Put it close to you.
Good morning, accountants. My name is Pieros Mukabi. I work for T sector. I would like to thank our former Vice President for the key highlights and also call for accountants to step up. I have an appeal or a question. Kenya is number 3rd in the world in tea producing, and it plays a big role in foreign exchange in our country. But at the moment we are experiencing poor auction prices, and most of the factories are at the brink of closing, which will lead to loss of jobs and also poverty. My question to the former Vice President, what are you doing as opposition, especially now that Sudan has banned our sale of tea to their country, and there are a lot of containers in Mombasa? Has opposition made their voices in both houses and also done enough to safeguard the tea sector? Thank you.
Thank you. The second question, we have a gentleman.
Thank you. My name is CPA Robert. My question to His Excellency is about Vision 2030. His Excellency had the privilege of being in the administration that crafted Vision 2030. We are coming to the end of Vision 2030, where there are some goals that have been attained. There are some key ones, for example, becoming a middle-income country, that have not been attained. So there are lessons learned as to what we did right and what we did not do right. And just to tie to that, we are not really seeing what is beyond Vision 2030. Is there a Vision 2060? And as a candidate anchoring to form government in the next election, you will probably be operating outside Vision 2030. So it may be important for maybe His Excellency to clarify the journey of Vision 2030 and the vision that the country holds beyond 2030, and the things that we can target so that when our forefathers tell us South Korea, Singapore were at the same level with Kenya, we have a chance now to tell them that was the story up to 2030. Beyond 2030, we've probably caught up with them and even gone better. Thank you.
Thank you, CPA Robert. Thank you, CPA Rose. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you. Virtually, Mwakazi, those appearing online.
Right, there's a question here. What is your proposed plan for Kenya's tax policy to restore purchasing power to Kenyans? What are the top 5 executive orders you would prioritize if you were to be the president-elect?
Okay. You can repeat the first one, I think.
The first one, what is your proposed plan for Kenya's tax policy to restore purchasing power to Kenyans? And what are the top 5 executive orders you would prioritize?
Thank you. We can now have Sarova, 2 questions. Where is the mic? The mic. Who has the mic? Proceed. Proceed.
My name is CPA Albert Mutia Mailu, and my question is both to my party leader, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, and my senator, Bwana Wambua, who is here. And what I'm wondering is, I'm not feeling both of you as the opposition, and when things are not working well in Kenya, and when we are talking about 2027, I'm seeing the coalition you are trying to form is with people who are already tainted. Are we really on the right direction? Thank you.
Okay. Another mic is there?
My name is Patrick Washira. I have one comment and a question to His Excellency Dr. S.K. Musyoka. One is that for the last 5 or so elections, because every year we have upwards of 60-70% new registrators. But the problem that ails Kenya remain. So what ails Kenya? What as voters do we need to do? Number 2, in your position, esteemed position as alternative leadership of this country, is a call and request that you help us to elevate the level of debate. Currently, we are engaged in a conversation about NGCDF, about GAF, about Senate Oversight Fund, but nobody is talking about whether there is a prudent utilization of those funds. We are talking about should they go to the devolved government, should they go to the central government, but nobody is talking about making sure wherever the funds are, they need to be utilized properly. Number 3, touching on audit, which is where most of...
Limit the questions we have.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Let's have a lady. Those are 2 gentlemen. Yeah. Quickly. Yes. Yeah. The mic is not on.
My name is CPA Catherine Juma, and looking at Kenya, we have a government that is very expensive. We saw the original 21 districts divided into 47 counties, and so many other things, positions came in with that during the constitution that is now over 10 years old. I want to hear, Your Excellency, your opinion on whether the voices of the accountants were heard as far as the cost of delivery that government is concerned. Because we heard the legal mind, the lawyers were very vocal, and the political class. Would you, in your opinion, as a politician, say that their accountants were heard? Or did we keep quiet? And are we doing anything to change how this country is governed as far as cost of delivery is concerned? Thank you.
Okay. Finally here, just a lady. I think we are done. No, there's a lady here because we had two gentlemen. And shoot your question straight.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Your Excellency, for your presentation. Mine is to ask you about public debt. This has been a widespread concern, and as a Kenyan, as I read about the growing public debt, even with the local borrowing and the interest rates, it is something that is very, it needs to be addressed. So how would you intend to balance that out? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency? Is another question? No, we
Yes, Chairman, pride in one, we are requesting to be allowed one more question, if that is okay.
Maybe you can respond to these ones first, just in case there will be one or two, but let him respond. Probably in the process of responding, he might respond to that one.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Well, there are quite a number of questions, a handful, very useful questions. I'll start with Georgina. In fact, Georgina, along with another council member, appeared before our NADCO team at Bomas. I remember that name very well. I suspect, like the incoming president, she's from my part of the world. But that is not relevant now. What is important is the question she has put forward. We had then, and that's about 2 years now, over 6,000 companies, Kenyan companies, were translocating to Tanzania, to Uganda. I'm not quite sure how many were translocating to Rwanda and Burundi, but those two countries specifically, over 6,000 Kenyan companies, because of the high levels of taxation, those companies translocated. That actually effectively meant those jobs went across our borders. And Catherine Juma, you would agree with me that losing any job is actually being ineffective cost-wise, because these are the young people who are crying out for their country. They cannot get their jobs back. Therefore, Georgina, the creation of jobs will be a priority in the coming administration. And I think I can link that up with the question that the gentleman asked online. I think it was Mwakazi. What are the 5 issues, executive orders you would issue if you are to become the next leader? And I want to tell you, I've already pronounced myself on one very explicitly. And I repeat here before professionals, do away with housing tax. That is number 1. And that will mean that erosion of the payslip is looked after. I'm thinking very strongly, having been once Minister for Education, when we advised President Kibaki then to think of free primary education. And one time, please Kenyans may have forgotten, I actually ran to be president. If I do it, it'll be 2nd time round. And my votes were stolen, were they not? Got close to 1 million votes, others were stolen, never mind. That is history. But then I spoke very clearly about a 24-hour economy. This is time to think about it. If you're going to create those jobs, Madam Georgina, we have to work like bees. We have no time to waste. Every Kenyan who is unemployed is a big problem to all of us. And then they turn violent, we call them goons. And then become ready fodder for political leaders who have lost focus. And they believe they can buy leadership by employing goons. Look at what happened at the promulgation. I think former Deputy President Gachagua, not former deputy. Deputy President Gachagua just wanted to name his new political party. They could not even allow him. You pay goons to cause harm, possibly death to leaders. Kenyans must stand up and say, no. I, like Mahatma Gandhi, I believe in change which is free of bloodletting. And so we will say no to goonism, because that is because these unemployed Kenyans, you give them 500 shillings and tell them, stone the Madam President, they would do it. We have to get our conscience back. But the free education should be taken a notch higher. Whether or not it will be my executive order number 2 will await the input of the professionals, Catherine Juma. But we can do free primary education, free secondary education in our public schools, and even free university education. If we stop the stealing, there will be free university education, because every Kenyan is entitled to the highest quality of life. Vision 2030, some friend talked about Vision 2030. And I've seen in your printed programs, talk about a medium-term planning, the 4th edition, to try to achieve the objectives we had set ourselves, given ourselves about Vision 2030. What are you hearing? Do you hear the Ruto administration 1 minute talking about Vision 2030? No. What you hear them talk about is bottom-up. Goodness. Kenyans, I think we need to go for mental checkup. All of us. Bottom-up economics. One time William Ruto thought he was a student of Mwai Kibaki, was a foremost economist. Remember, as leaders, President Mwai Kibaki, when he was Minister for Finance, actually appeared in the Time magazine. That time is the most promising, one of the most promising African and world leaders. He lived to be that. You don't hear anybody talk about Vision 2030. But I can tell you, we have ongoing Vision 2030 projects that this current administration is doing nothing about, or they least care about them. I'll give you an example. A project that is supposed to produce 650 megawatts of electricity, known as the High Grand Falls Dam, should have been implemented by now. And that will add on to electricity, connectivity, and even be able to export our electricity. You know that at midnight, we receive from the Owen Falls Dam in Uganda so much. And yet this Vision 2030, which are also supposed to do entire irrigation of Tana River County all the way to Garissa counties. Nobody talks about that. Even the Mama Bogas are forgotten. And you know, one of the things we do, like we did with President Kibaki, was to remove to zero rate the border borders. Do you know that a border today that would have cost 70,000 shillings is costing 150 shillings because of the taxation, Ruto regime? That will be another executive order. At least we have something that is helping the youth. And in terms of climate change discussions, again I remind myself, I was Minister for the Environment when Professor Wangari Maathai won the Nobel Peace Laureate Award, and I was able to take her to Norway that time to receive that award. Environment is key. And when President Ruto met with Prime Minister Sunak, I think it was, of the UK, in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, they discussed this project about the High Grand Falls. And what has happened since is this committee in Treasury supposed to do this. The PPPs, which are actually potentially very useful, public-private partnerships, are really being held hostage because this administration We'll say we want 10%, we want 10% to go to this and the other, therefore, grant standing. And this effectively means loss of jobs for Kenyans. Vision 2030, whatever remains between now and 2030, of course, need to be amended. Africa is talking about Vision 2063. I believe myself, even as professionals, we take out our gloves and decide for once we are getting out of our comfort zones and stop corruption. I talked about you signing documents that sell out your conscience and your country. If we do that, we stop Ruto and his team from mismanaging this economy, we will be able to do stuff between now and 2030 and prepare for the next medium-term plan. These opportunities that the top advisors in the Ruto administration, including CS Bandi, should have been here to talk about. But we will issue very clear instructions. I am very passionate about free education for all citizens. And we will fund that free education when we stop the stealing. I also want to say that number 4, number 3, number 5, Mr. Mwakazi, await further instructions. I will be able to talk to you about those as we go on. Now, somebody talked about Kenyans who are tainted, and that gentleman must be from Kitui County. Senator, talk to your elector, and let me tell you, now I'm talking like a professional lawyer. No person shall be condemned unheard. So don't out there start there and say, yeah, tainted, what business do you have with so and so? If there are angels in this room, please put up your hands. But there can be policies that draw the line. We will draw the line on the sand and say, from now on, zero corruption. It can happen, my friends. Now, I'll give you an example of somebody you may think is tainted. Governor Natembeya. 2 days ago, and I gave advance notice, was haunted. Because they want to punish any dissenting voices, went out and obtained a search warrant. And with that search warrant, they carried, I'm told, this is to be verified, about 61 million shillings all the way to Trans Nzoia, to Governor Natembeya's house to plant evidence. 61 million. Wasema amepatikana na hundi ya 61 million shillings. Jamaa ni mwizi. What happened? The youths in Trans Nzoia, the Gen Zs in Trans Nzoia, decided, no, we will not allow this. So what did they do? They instead vandalized the Subaru, Ru's famous Subarus. They were flat tired. And to their amazement, they found the loot. There's a village called Matisi in Trans Nzoia. Go check, Senator Ambua. That night was party time. Enjoying the 61 million evidence to be planted on Governor Natembeya. What a shame. What a shame. Well, former Minister for Agriculture, Mr. Linturi, you may say he's tainted. But he gave us assurance that he is not going to be condemned unheard. Atabeba mizigo ya watu wengine. Is going to talk to Kenyans about the fake fertilizer. Remember? Fake fertilizer. Who was responsible? Who did what? Thank you so much, brother, brother Dr. Wale. It's good to see you. You are a survivor of heart attack. But let's give him a big applause. And thank you for standing strong for your faith. So again, Senator Linturi and former Governor, Minister for Agriculture, Kenyans are waiting to know the truth. Although biblically the truth is Jesus Christ. And Kenyan, the leaders keep on saying, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Kenyans want to know the truth about Bolea Feki. And then you see Kumbe the big boys, the bigger boys, were the ones involved. So don't judge people on the face value. Listen to their story. And even the Dao, the ignorant, I like the words of the Desiderata, the Dao and the ignorant, they too have their story. But every person must be subject to the same treatment under the law. So I talked about Vision 2030, and Rose Mukavi, amazing, amazing. Tea production, you know we have the tea auction here in Mombasa. Did you know that a Kenyan called Joe Kamau and his younger brother decided to be very active in the tea auction here in Mombasa? And they had created an extra 300 jobs for young Kenyans here in Mombasa. What happened to Joe Kamau over Christmas? In 2024 or 2023, he was arrested, was taken around before DCI, and they could not provide any charges. They actually wanted to say money laundering, our professionals, money laundering. They found nothing. This young man was doing value addition to Kenyan tea. Do you know now, as a result of compromising stand by Kenya Tea Development Authority, KTDA, our friends from Rwanda, congratulations, the tea from Rwanda has overtaken the tea from Kenya in terms of quality, because they also bring their tea from Rwanda, Uganda, here in Mombasa for the auction. Those 300 jobs were lost. Joe Kamau translocated to Dubai, given all the welcome. This is a Kenyan, example of a Kenyan entrepreneur who wants to make a difference, to create those jobs, and they get frustrated. Therefore, Rose, we will do quite a bit to just again get rid of corruption from KTDA and wherever. Well, you asked me a question that very, very critical at this time. I know General Buhran, the leader in Sudan. You know, after South Sudan became independent, they kept the names Republic of South Sudan, headquartered, capital Juba, and Khartoum, the headquarters of Khartoum, now translocated because of the hostilities between RSF and the army. I think they moved to Port Sudan, and even there they are getting attacked under drones. And you heard General Buran say, because of William Ruto's support to RSF, these are the original Janjaweeds from Darfur. People wanted for crimes against humanity, killing the black community. But they come here, we give them red carpet treatment. And instead of now working to bring the factions together, we have taken sides. Professionals, did you know that gold from Darfur is flown into JKI and then flown on to Dubai, treated under the rules of origin as Kenyan gold? And that probably is funding the war effort in the Sudan. So, if I got opportunity, I'll look for General Buran and tell him, please don't punish the Kenyan farmers, because I think the biggest exporter consumer of our tea is Iran, then Pakistan, and of course Sudan. Wanakula ile kawatungu, tea, black tea. And people are sitting here supervising corruption. How will this economy ever grow? So I still maintain that it is possible to get rid of corruption, and this economy will grow like where Kibaki and I left it. We are later joined by Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And Kenyans will remember, that is the time when our GDP growth actually hit 7%. Now I want to conclude. I hope I've tried to respond. I would want to get professional advice from you. I've always dreamed of Dubai in Kenya, not necessarily Dubai. And Mombasa can be a free port. That's how we will now incrementally we will grow this economy exponentially. This economy will take off. But because of corruption, I'll give you another example. President Paul Kagame decided to give 49% shares to Qatar Airways. Qatar Airways had come wanting to do the same with Kenya Airways, but you show our 10%, our 20%. So Qatar migrated to Kigali. Kigali is about to launch one of the best international airports in the African continent. JKIA supposed to be leased to Andani. Corruption, She, Andani. We must talk openly as Kenyans. So this is where we are, the state of a nation with regard to corruption. Imagine if Qatar Airways had bought the 49 shares in Kenya Airways. If I was William Ruto, I'd give him free advice because I think Kenya is in good standing with the Emirates. Perhaps try and convince the Emirates to do what Qatar has done in Rwanda. Perhaps our international airport will regain its name. Do you know that any Kenyan arriving from anywhere in the world, and there are many in the diaspora, wakiingia pale JKI, mizigo inawakwa XXXX, that means unalipa huyu customs pesa nyingi zaidi. Wengine wamenulia tu relatives leso moja or something. You have to pay ushuru even on that. This is an ushuru land. You pay through your nose. I think Kenyans are now the wiser. So I think I've tried to address that, Catherine. And public debt, of course, madam, you didn't give us your name, but this public debt, remember when William Ruto came to power, he said there was going no external borrowing, nothing. William Ruto goes to America, is given the highest honor by President Joe Biden. Kenya is made a non-NATO ally, which I openly objected to, because that's my forte. Our foreign policy orientation has always been that we are positively non-aligned. We are friends to all, because we are still young economy, and we want to grow. But you take size now, you are put on the arm's length, because our Shabab and others, instead of hitting us like they hit us in 1998, remember Dar es Salaam and Nairobi bomb blast? They were hitting Americans, now they'll be hitting Kenyans, because we are aligned. Because of it, our men were taken to Haiti. There's a family in Kiambu still crying for the remains of their loved one. A thing which did not go under the UN Security Council arrangement. It was a deal cut between Kenya and the United States. But what does William Ruto do after that? Agenda item number 5, when a ranking Chinese delegation came to Kenya, and William Ruto said, please China, help Kenya become a member of BRICS. Now from being an aligned nation to a member of BRICS, these are serious matters. Of course, as a sovereign nation, it is our duty to accept to join any bloc without let or hindrance. But don't play games with them. Be honest. The People's Republic of China has helped this economy significantly. And no country, including the United States, can do without China. This is why Donald Trump himself has had to discuss this tariff regime with the People's Republic. Nobody can, but be consistent. Go for non-active, non-alignment. I pity my brother, Wycliffe Musalia, fumbling and not knowing exactly what to do. So the public debt is still an issue. It is growing. I think it's now in trillions. If you use money to develop your economy, develop your infrastructure, do the right thing, minus corruption, nobody will really worry so much about public debt. But if we take over, President Xi Jinping, the leader of the People's Republic, I'm sure will look favorably at those commitments that can help reduce our level or public debt. So I think I've tried to cover those things, and if there's one that is probably not dealt with, I think Finance Bill 2025, our friend from Kajiado, you know, that's why CS Badi should have come here and try to explain and get concurrence from this very authoritative forum. As I said in my statement, line by line approach with regard to the 2025 Finance Bill. But Kenyans are watching. Those things that were objected to by Gen Z, a majority of Kenyans, are still being sneaked in. So if there's another clarion call, hashtag reject the bill, Kenyans have every reason to reject it. But before they do, please let them listen to you. I've tried to address all those issues, I think. It's Catherine Juma again on expensive government and cost of delivery, and whether the voice of the accountants was listened to. You see, if you don't stand up, Catherine, and get listened to, you can demand to be listened to. I gave you an example. Your own professional goes in to sit as a member of that selection panel for the IEBC reconstitution panel. He fights, I don't know how well he fought or he got compromised, I don't know. But the name of your own chairman, who should be schooled in numbers better than the lawyers, right, gets ignored. And you are sitting here very comfortably. I think that accountants, if you allow me, I can teach you to demonstrate. I was almost killed in 2023 with Raila and Eugene Wamala, my colleague, almost got killed in Mathare. Because then we are demonstrating against the high cost of living. If you sit out there, don't think you look less of a professional by using your rights under Article 37. In fact, you'll be reinforcing. You know, this is the time, my friends, to do something for your country. Do something for your country. I saw somebody saying, I don't know whether William Ruto said, he set off from my friend Raila Odinga because Kalonzo alikuwa kichwa ngumu. Nitakuwa kichwa ngumu mpaka waende nyumbani. I thank you.
Thank you very much. You give a mic to a politician and he will answer many questions that are not asked after answering yours. So thank you very much, CPA. Olive from Pride in One, you had a question that you, I don't know whether it has been answered. We are running a bit late on time. CPA Olive from Pride in One.
Chairman, we have one more from Pride in Two.
Okay, one, because time is not on our side. CPA Rispa and CPA Olive, proceed very quickly.
Thank Pride in One, yes, our question is ready.
Proceed, CPA Olive.
Dr. Wawero will ask the question.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Wawero Jackson. I'll go straight to my question. Now that you have thrown your heart into the ring to lead the great country of Kenya, I request you to indulge us as accountants your position as a lawyer on odious debts. Given that our country debt is running at about 12 trillion, what will be your policy position on odious debt? Thank you.
Rispa, Pride in Two.
Pride in Two, we have a question from Council Member CPA Wycliffe. Go ahead.
Thank you.
My name, as you've said, is CP Wycliffe Bichanga, Council Member. Your Excellency, this is about county governments. I think for the longest time, there's been a discussion about the economic viability of our counties. Will be good to hear what are your thoughts on this. That is it time we considered probably merging counties and capping the number, because there's been a discussion in terms of duplication, and probably some duties could be done better if we had bigger regions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Back to you.
Thank you. Your Excellency, you can take those two.
Well, I thank you, Dr. Waweru Jackson. 12 trillion in form of debt, trillion shillings, I believe. And I think that I tried, though not with a sense of in-depth approach to deal with it, but these, some of them, what you're calling odious debts, the other debts, you know, what I think even under Jubilee administration, what they tried to do that time was to borrow commercially, commercial debts. My expertise is in negotiations. And in business, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. A lot of these debts will need serious renegotiation. But you must establish a level of credibility so the people with whom you are negotiating can take you seriously. So I will work with the accounting profession to have a real look at all these numbers and be able to know what needs to be done. On the economic viability of the counties, I think again, Madam Catherine addressed this issue when she was saying that the voice of the accountants was never listened to. Economic viability of the counties. Let me give you a very live example. Madam Shakila is the Secretary General of Wiper Democratic Movement. She's from the county of Lamu. Tell me, if you try to merge Lamu with Tana River, or merge a whole thing to create one coastal region, what that will mean. I believe myself, and I want to be able to convince the accountants on this. Again, when we deal with governors, you'll be able to even, instead of 47, be able to sustain the 47 counties, all right? And then, by the way, there are other smaller constituencies, like in Taita Taveta, several 27 constituencies, which as we speak are still seen to be unconstitutional because nobody did anything about it. By the way, had William Ruto and Raila Odinga implemented the NADCO recommendations, because we specifically dealt with those issues, the country will be very far. But now we are faced with another election and a lot of prevarication, and nobody wants to commit. My view then will be, we need to further interrogate. Because if you're looking at amending the Constitution, the lawyers will talk to you about the basic structure. The 47 counties are written in the Constitution. To do anything about that, you need to go to the Kenyans with a referendum. On a referendum, make it a referendum issue. There were those who felt that time that instead of having the 47 counties, why don't we stick to the 8 original provinces? That's still a valid question. But the decision was taken by the Kenyan people at a referendum to establish the 47 counties. If you give somebody a right, that's a legal issue again. You give somebody a right and you want to take it away from them, you really have a lot of explaining to do. Therefore, the safe approach would be stop the stealing, stop the corruption, get people to develop themselves wherever they are. I hope I've answered you, and that was actually the question by council member, was it Chama? The same thing. It will need a lot of consultation. I thank you.
So thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to our 10th Vice President. CEO with your team. Let's do what we do. And then I'll request council members who are here to come on stage. May I recognize my predecessors who are here also, FCPA Mwatu, Julius, the 22nd Chairman of ISPAC. May I recognize FCPA Rose Maura, the 23rd Chairman of ISPAC, and the 25th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you for your time. Asante sana. Excellent. Thank you so much. Welcome to the 42nd ISPAC annual seminar happening here in Mombasa. We're looking at beyond the profession, accountants in every sphere of the economy. Happening here in Mombasa, the stage is ready.
May I have the former chairman come on board?